There are a variety of scenarios where you may find the need or want to employ stealth camping techniques. In this video, that's exactly what we're going to focus on, with an emphasis on food, fire, water, and shelter. Let's get after it. Of course, while traveling down a road enables speed, and there is some security in that, at some point in time, you need to get off a well-established road or trail system. You have to be able to get off and away from it. And once you've made it to that position where you're going to go ahead and cut off of the road, take the time and shoot an azimuth for the direction that you're going to travel. This will help you on the back end after you're at your hide site so that you can work yourself back to that road system. To determine that reverse azimuth, if your heading was between 0 and 180 degrees, you're going to add 180. If your heading was between 180 and 360, you're going to subtract 180 degrees. And this will give you some confidence so that you can work yourself back to that road. One of the other prerequisites that you have to get right when it comes to stealth camping is discipline as it relates to noise, light, and litter. The eye is drawn to things that are moving, and it is drawn to colors that are in stark contrast with the background environment around it. For example, this orange vest is no bueno. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to take my pack off, and we're going to work out 100 meters, and then I'll work my way back. We'll see how well that you can see me. So I'm going to move exactly 100 meters, turn around, and come right back. Right, so look at the difference in what you can see as we move out. We're gonna pan in and zoom in as far as we can digitally. Out at 100 meters, I'm gonna move around to the left, to the right in a circle. Now, for demonstration purposes only, for the remainder of this video, I'm going to leave the vest on. It is a little bit chilly, and hopefully it'll provide some contrast in the environment that we're working in here. So how far off do you need to get off of a road? I would submit to you 400 meters is going to put you beyond eyesight, and it's going to put you beyond earshot of most activities, so long as you're keeping that noise discipline down. So we know how far off we need to move. We know how far away, Riggs just wants to play ball. So we know how far off that we need to move from the road. Once we get there, we need to look for a suitable place to make shelter. Looking in areas like this, you can see there's a lot of dead wood that's on the ground that has fallen during the course of storms, and it's all wet, it's all rotted, it's all saturated. Although the moss level is a great platform to sleep on, you know, when you look up and around you, you may not want to look for a place like this because of those deadfalls that could happen. You do want some vegetation, and having some low-lying vegetation between you and a possible observer is absolutely key and paramount, because it puts obstacles in between you and that observation point. It's going to help break up your silhouette. It's going to mask your movement as well as the sound and anything else that you have going on at the camp. Same thing is going to apply when we're looking at even micro terrain features that might be available for us to use to help mask and conceal our position. From here, let's go get a shelter set up. All right. We got about 400 meters off the road with nothing but this really thick underbrush between us that's going to provide that concealment that we need in order to be able to have an effective stealth camp. Now that I'm here 400 meters, I need to log my last run for my pace count, because you never know what you're going to remember and what you're going to forget. All right, so we'll get a shelter set up, and we'll talk about some different thoughts and considerations as it comes to what form of shelter we need to look for and which ones we need to avoid. All right, I think this spot will do. Get our pack hung up. And of course, one of the things we need to try to avoid at all costs is maintaining a high profile like this shelter does right here. Although it is awesome, it gives a lot of headroom and a lot of protection against the elements, it is way too high. Even though we're 400 meters off from the road, higher probability of detection. And so with that in mind, let's get a shelter set up using a tarp, a 10 by 10, that maintains a much lower profile, protects us from the elements, and serves as a ground covering, because it is kind of wet. And so there are as many shelter configurations as you can possibly imagine, whether you're using a tarp or a poncho. But what you want to try to do is ensure that you do keep a low silhouette. Right, and in this case, we just have set up a gunya, which is an outstanding option because it does maintain that low profile silhouette. It is asymmetrical. It provides a ground sheet and cover to keep you and your gear dry, and it has plenty of room for all the activities with me and Riggs, who right now is staring intensely at this ball. Or maybe you want to go with a lower profile ridgeline setup. Again, anytime that you do use a ridgeline, definitely make sure that it is under knee height. Definitely no higher than waist height. Man, did you see that when his nose hit it? Who's a good boy? You want another one? But it is totally up to you, dependent on the situation that you are finding yourself in when you're going out to employ some stealth techniques. And after you have your shelter in place, determine the probability of detection for your site by moving out through the brush and see how far you have to get before you can't see your site any longer. And so the site checks out. I think we are in a good and secure spot. Probability of detection is extremely limited. Now we can turn to some other priorities of work. Maybe you do need to prepare some food, or maybe you have to boil some water because you don't have a quality filter. In order to do this, we need to move away from the camp and see if we can't find a location that is going to be suitable to go ahead and conduct these tasks. Now, of course, there are plenty of options to be able to collect and transport water. You could use an old school canteen. You could use something like the Grail. Or you could use a water bladder and maybe put in a built-in filter like the Sawyer. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. Use what you have available to you right now. But be prepared to have a site that is within some kind of proximity to a water source so that you can go and collect it, whether it's from a muddy pool or a running body of water. You need to be able to collect it. You need to be able to filter or purify it so that you can consume it so that you don't die. And so when building a fire, you need to find a location that's going to help you conceal it as best as possible, whether it's using a deadfall, micro-terrain features, or simply the brush that's around you. You need something to help dissipate the smoke to help avoid detection. Team, and of course, don't forget, when you're done with your fire, make sure it's completely exhausted, and then take a few moments to police up your area and put it back to its original state, at least the best that you can. And so when it comes to producing some sort of heat, whether we're trying to boil water, cook some food, or conduct some hygiene, there are a variety of options that you have at your disposal. You could use a number of stoves that are out there on the market, some of which are completely quiet, and some make a little bit of noise. And if you don't have everything that you need, it's okay to create a field expedient method to get the job done. Cooking up some lunch today, we're going to be eating some chili. This particular one has beans in it, and depending on where you're from, that automatically eliminates it from being chili and turns it into stew. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Is chili with beans chili, or is it some kind of meat stew? Now I've had a little bit of refreshments and some food. Let's get Rig some water before he dehydrates on us. All right, team, so we're going to go ahead and get ready to punch out of here, but I got one more thing I want to put into your kit bag as it directly relates to stealth camping, and that's a little bit of navigation principle. So one of the things that we want to avoid is going back in the exact direction that we came from. And so we came in at 220 degrees, and we knew that our back azimuth was 40. But what we don't want to do is go back and travel in the exact direction that we came from. It's going to leave more sign and more evidence of our presence in the area. So one of the techniques that we can employ is a simple one, and it's actually the textbook approach to negotiating obstacles. Of course, from that MSR, we moved up 400 meters, and I'm going to count each one of these boxes as 100 meters. That way I can keep this drawn to scale. Again, we don't want to go back the way that we came from. So by simply executing a 90-degree turn or turning 310 degrees, I can travel down 400 meters. Once I get to that point, I can execute another right face, if you will, and this time use my back azimuth of 40 degrees. And once I travel 400 meters, I know that I'm going to end up back on the MSR, and I know exactly where I'm going to be on that MSR. I'm going to be 400 meters further up than where I entered. All right, team, let me know what you think down in the comments below about the techniques that we talked about in this video concerning stealth camping. I appreciate all you guys, and until then, you stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked. And don't forget, every good mother loves it when you drink the tears of a commie. Oh yeah. Man, if you didn't know, every time that you smash them buttons and share these videos out, my flask gets filled up with them. I appreciate you fellas. All right, we got the compass preset. You ready to rock? You ready to rock and roll? Ready to go on to the next spot? Go to the next spot? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Team, if you want to master your craft and develop your tactical virtue, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on future content. Consider becoming a channel member. It's going to give you exclusive access to content not available to anybody else. I appreciate you guys. Until then, you stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked.